The 2024 Summer Olympic Games is fast approaching, and as always, the US is sending an absolutely loaded men's basketball squad to compete on the world stage. The best basketball players from the most competitive league all coming together to form an Avengers-level team is always a sight to behold. And this is certainly nothing new, as Team USA has fielded several historically dominant and iconic Olympic basketball teams. Specific teams that likely come to mind for many are the 1992 Dream Team, the disappointing 2004 team, or even the 2008 Redeem Team avenging the loss from the 2004 Olympics. However, one USA squad that I think doesn't get nearly the amount of love it deserves is the 2012 team that competed in the London Olympics. While some might view this team as just another run-of-the-mill Team USA squad expected to curb stomp their competitors, I'd argue that based on the context surrounding USA basketball at the time, this was a much more important team than you'd think at first glance. For those that don't recall, after the disappointing loss in the 2004 Olympics, USA basketball would see a complete overhaul, essentially rebuilding from the ground up. Instead of simply throwing NBA stars together at the last minute and expecting to win gold, the roster would be much more selective and have a much more rigorous training regimen to ensure an actual team was being made rather than just a mosh posh of star talents. The rebuild was already off to a good start with the 2008 Redeem Team winning the gold medal in the Beijing Olympics, and now the pressure was on the 2012 squad to finish the rebuild and once again establish the US as the unquestioned premier country when it comes to basketball. And with the weight of USA basketball on their shoulders, the team was able to deliver in dominating fashion, and a large part of the team's success was due to the impressive roster that was put together. As with any Team USA squad, it was of course loaded with star power and talent, and this team featured a diverse mix of well-established veterans with Olympic experience, as well as young and upcoming stars eager to leave their mark on the world stage. At the point guard spot, Team USA had two very talented and well-rounded players in Chris Paul and Deron Williams, who would serve as the team's primary ball handlers. Both were coming off strong seasons in the NBA, with CP3 averaging 19 points, almost 10 assists, and 2.5 steals with the Clippers, and Williams averaging 21 points and over 8 assists with the Nets. Additionally, both players also had previous Olympic experience, being a part of the 2008 Olympic gold medal team as well. The team also featured a young Russell Westbrook, who at the time was coming off of his best season with OKC, averaging 23 points, 5.5 assists, and over 4 rebounds a game. He served as a nice change of pace with his speed and athleticism, and would be the team's main energizer off the bench. The shooting guard spot was headlined by the veteran presence and Olympic return of Kobe Bryant, who at that point had already established himself as a Team USA legend after his strong performance in the 2008 Olympics. Despite being the oldest player on the team at 33, he was still a lethal scorer, coming off a season where he averaged 28 points a game, and was expected to be one of the go-to guys offensively for the team. Backing up Kobe was an upcoming star in James Harden, who had been named the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year the previous season, averaging close to 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists a game for OKC. And similar to his role for the Thunder that season, he'd provide a strong scoring and shooting threat off the bench for Team USA. For the forward positions, this is easily where the US was the most stacked, being headlined by the likes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Carmelo Anthony. LeBron James was undoubtedly the best player on the team, coming off of an MVP season in which he averaged over 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. He was also one of the most experienced Team USA guys as well, being one of just 2 players on the team participating in their 3rd Olympic Games. With his all-around game, Olympic experience, and overall leadership, he was considered by many to be the most pivotal and important player on the squad. However, another player expected to be a key piece on the team was Kevin Durant, who in his own right was also coming off of an incredible season, averaging 28 points and 8 rebounds. KD was viewed as the best overall scorer on the team, and in many of the games would be the team's #1 option offensively, with his combination of length, athleticism, and shooting that no other country would be able to guard against. Carmelo Anthony was no slouch either, however, also being considered one of the best scorers on the team, coming off the season averaging almost 23 points a game with the Knicks. Like LeBron, Melo also had a long history with Team USA, with 2012 being his 3rd time competing in the Olympics. He's undoubtedly a Team USA legend, and if you've ever heard the phrase Olympic Melo, it was coined due to his history of being so dominant in the Olympics, and his 2012 run in London plays a very large part in why that nickname was created. The perimeter wing rotation was rounded out by the jack-of-all-trades and high-flying Andre Iguodala. Coming off a season with the 76ers averaging 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, he provided quality depth and defense to the squad off the bench. Moving on to the team's interior and post presence, this was undoubtedly viewed as the weakest and thinnest part of the team, with Tyson Chandler and Kevin Love serving as the main big men. Chandler brought a lot to the table as a big man, averaging 11 points and 10 rebounds a game that season with the Knicks, and also being a good lob threat on rim runs. However, his main role was to serve as the team's defensive enforcer, as he had recently been named the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. Kevin Love would serve as a nice complement to Chandler, being a well-rounded scorer and rebounder, averaging 26 points and 13 rebounds that season for the Timberwolves. The final player on the roster was a 19-year-old Anthony Davis, fresh off of being selected first overall in the 2012 NBA Draft. Being as he hadn't ever played in an NBA game to that point, he was primarily expected to be bench depth, only being used very sparingly. From top to bottom, this was a team loaded with talent, but it also had quite a lot of chemistry, with several players on the team being NBA teammates or having played together on prior Olympic teams. A combination of the team's talent and chemistry made them the runaway favorites for the gold medal, and everyone was excited to see them finally play together in London. When the summer finally rolled around, Team USA would kick off their preliminary matches against a solid France team, which featured several NBA players including Tony Parker, Nicolas Batum, and Boris Diaw, and was also considered one of the favorites in strong contention for a podium finish. However, despite the talent and experience on the French team, it was clear from the jump that Team USA was just too strong and deep, knocking off France in a 98-71 blowout. With it being the squad's first Olympic game together, they did look a little bit out of sync at times, but overall, the team looked every bit as dominant as everyone expected. Kevin Durant led the way with 22 points and 9 rebounds, alongside strong performances by Kevin Love and Kobe Bryant, pitching in 14 points and 10 points respectively. Going into their second game against Tunisia, the US was clearly the more talented team, and the game wasn't expected to be particularly close. And by all metrics, it was certainly a blowout, with a 47-point win for the US. It was an all-around dominant performance with 6 players scoring in double figures. Both Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Love had a team-high 16 points, with KD chipping in 13. Even Anthony Davis had a strong performance as well in his first meaningful action with 12 points. This game would serve as a big confidence booster for the team as they continued to build chemistry and momentum. And this momentum would carry into their next game against Nigeria, where the US would explode for 156 points in an 83-point rout. Yes, you heard that right, an 83-point win. This game set numerous Olympic records, including total points as well as point differential. And speaking of record-breaking performances, Olympic Melo made an appearance for the ages in this game, draining an Olympic record 10 three-pointers as part of his 37-point game. Russell Westbrook and Kobe Bryant also had impressive performances, chipping in 16 points and 15 points. At this point, Team USA looked absolutely unstoppable, winning their first 3 games by a combined 157 points. It wasn't until the 4th game against Lithuania where the team was truly tested for the first time, as it was in that game where the lack of interior presence and depth highlighted as a weakness on Team USA began to finally show, with several of Lithuania's skilled bigs wreaking havoc in the post, especially feasting when Tyson Chandler would go to the bench for rest. Despite the game being close throughout, the US would be able to pull out a 99-94 win off the backs of LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, who each chipped in 20 points, as well as Kevin Durant with 16. This game served as a shining example that although the US was stacked with talent, they could still be beaten, and Lithuania had shown the blueprint for how to do it. For Team USA, this was a big wake-up call, showing that they couldn't just sleepwalk through all their matches and really had to lock in for the remainder of their games. And going into their final prelim game, the team did just that, putting together a 29-point statement win over one of the tournament favorites for a medal in Argentina, a team which featured NBA talents like Manu Ginobili and Luis Scola. Kevin Durant put up an impressive performance with 28 points, followed by LeBron with 18 and Chris Paul with 17. It was a nice bounce-back game for the team as they finished the preliminary rounds with an unblemished 5-0 record. After breezing through much of the preliminary matches with relative ease, the US came into their quarterfinal match oozing with confidence. The team was fully locked in and now looked like a fully meshed unit primed to make a run towards the gold medal. But it wouldn't be an easy path, with their quarterfinal matchup coming against an uber-talented team in Australia, which featured 4 NBA players including Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, Matthew Dellavedova, and Aaron Baines. Despite having some quality players, in the end, the US just had too much firepower for the Australians, blowing them out with a final score of 119-86. After having a relatively quiet Olympics to that point, Kobe Bryant finally had a breakout game, leading the team with 20 points, followed by Darren Williams with 18 and Melo chipping in 17 as well. After a 33-point blowout of the Aussies, the US moved on to the semifinals and found themselves in a rematch against Argentina, who they'd beaten by 29 points just a few days prior. And this game would have a very similar result as the last, with the US putting up a strong 109-83 victory on the backs of their best players, with KD dropping 19 alongside LeBron and Melo both putting up 18. The team had now punched their ticket to the finals and looked to bring home yet another gold medal for the United States. But the most difficult test test for the team was yet to come, as they'd have to face off against Spain in the gold medal game, a rematch of the 2008 Olympic finals. And this Spain was a whole different animal compared to the other teams the US had faced, with several high-level NBA players including Marc and Pau Gasol, Serge Ibaka, Rudy Fernandez, and Sergio Rodriguez. The Gasol brothers in particular posed a significant threat as they had the potential to really exploit Team USA's lack of interior defense. If the US struggled to guard against the big men from Lithuania that aren't even in the NBA, just imagine how they'd fare against two of the top centers in the NBA at the time. But what the US lacked in post defense, they made up for with athleticism and a high-powered offense. Similar to the 2008 Olympic finals, this game would stay close throughout. Anytime it looked like the US would start to pull away, Spain would claw their way back into it. The Gasol brothers dominated in the post as expected, but the pure offensive talent of the US managed to keep them at a slight lead through most of the game. And in the end, the US pulled out a 107-100 victory, with KD stepping up big time with 30 points and 9 rebounds, and LeBron adding 19 of his own. The team's two best players stepped up in the biggest game, helping lead Team USA to the gold medal and once again establishing the US as the basketball power of the world. It was clear from start to finish that this squad was special, and to recap some numbers to show just how dominant they were, they finished with a perfect 8-0 record, averaging over 116 points per game, with an average margin of victory of 32.1 points. To highlight some of the players, Kevin Durant led the way in scoring, averaging 19.2 points a game, and setting a US record with 156 points across the 8 games. Melo also added to his already impressive Team USA resume, being second on the team in scoring, averaging 16.3 points a game, including a record-setting performance against Nigeria. However, the undoubted best player and leader for the team was LeBron James, with an impressive all-around stat line of 13.3 points to go along with 5.6 assists and rebounds. Kobe also had his moment in the sun as well, announcing soon afterwards that this would be his last Olympics, cementing his status as a Team USA and Olympic legend. Looking back on this team 12 years later, I think it's crazy just how forgotten it is compared to some of the other Team USA squads. It was loaded with some of the most iconic players in NBA history, was filled with exciting and feel-good storylines, and they were just as dominant, if not more dominant, than some of the other more iconic Olympic teams. At the end of the day though, no matter where you rank this team on the all-time USA Olympic teams, they without a doubt left their mark on the world stage, and will forever be a part of the United States' storied and iconic basketball history. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more sports content. If you have any memories of watching this team back in 2012, or want to leave your thoughts on the upcoming 2024 Olympic team, be sure to leave a comment down below. This is Heatcheck Productions signing off. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm out.